I'm Ron Paul, and I approve this message.
You are now listening to the Ron Paul Radio Network. Radio for the revolution.
What's going on, y'all? You're tuning in to Occupy the Media. I'm your host, Paco. Appreciate it if you're tuning in today. So if you got to check out the clip I played a second ago, or before the last break, it was the one where I basically put a bunch of clips together of Ron Paul being asked if he's going to run as a third party. And if you heard it, it was a lot of them. And literally, that was like within a month or 2 months of clips. It was all like back-to-back interviews within weeks. They keep asking the same questions. They know what he's being asked. If you listen to interviews now, he keeps getting asked the same questions. Like they all have the same line of questioning. You know, are you going to support Mitt Romney if he becomes a nominee? When he becomes a nominee, you know you're not going to be the nominee. Mathematically, you're not going to be the nominee. But it's all this. How do you get young people? The same question there, the same questions. Because they got to keep, again, that perception going. He's running as third party. He's not viable. He's not really trying to be president. You know, when in reality, that is exactly what he's trying to do. So you could check that video out, too, also on Paco757 at my YouTube page. Also, if you haven't seen the Ben Swann interview we just put up yesterday on Ron Paul Radio, he was with us on April 9th. Check that out, again, at YouTube. My screen name, Paco757, and on Facebook, Paco Elijah. Now, there was another interview that Ron Paul was just recently in. I think it was yesterday or the day before. I know it was in Texas. I forgot the name of the show that he was on. It was a pretty lengthy interview. I think it was about 30 minutes long, actually. And anyways, I didn't have time to get the clip together. I wanted to play it. But basically, they asked Ron Paul, you know, why isn't he getting people to the polls, or why isn't it getting more numbers, more votes, somewhere along those lines. And he said that, you know, basically we need to get more people out to the polls, but that, you know, he has the media going against him. That it's the media that's you know, again, keeping up with that perception, got people thinking that he can't win, or thinking that he doesn't want to win, that he doesn't want to be president. And even Ron Paul said this. He said, imagine if the media basically was showing all the people that are climbing trees and all the big rallies, and what if they had all their cameras there to see that and show that? And exactly. If they did that, it would be just like when Obama was starting to you know, take place, when the Obama movement was taking place. You know, people didn't know who Obama was. They didn't know who this guy was from anywhere, but the media kept his name out there, made him a household name. Before you know it, everybody and their baby mama is trying to get people to sign up to vote for Obama. So they know that's going to happen with Ron Paul too, especially since he's pointing out that both parties are the problem. Especially, you know, he's not identifying himself with either party, because both parties are pretty much the same thing. They're both Democrats, if you ask me. They're both big spenders. Republicans lie. They talk a better game than Democrats, but they don't live it. Ron Paul's the only one that talks it and live it. And Democrats, they don't even talk good, you know. So Ron Paul's the only one pointing that out. Now, there's a clip I came across too as well. I think it just came out yesterday or today. It was in Australia. The Australia Today show talks about U.S. military making plans for alien invasion. That's right, our military is preparing in case we have an alien invasion. Now, let me play this clip here real quick for you. Hopefully it don't come in too loud.
Alien invasion, could it really happen? The U.S. military is making plans just in case.
What are the official plans for contact with extraterrestrials? Will they come in peace or war? And what can humanity do in the face of alien invasion?
Yes, it is best to be prepared for anything, and Professor Paul Springer from the US Air Command and Staff College would advise the military in the event of an invasion. He had to get special government clearance to talk to us, and I spoke to him earlier. Paul, it's an incredibly difficult thing, isn't it, to plan to fight back against an enemy we would know absolutely nothing about?
Well, that's absolutely true, but at the same time, we make all kinds of contingency and war plans against enemies that we never expected to face in combat. And so the idea that maybe the enemy will have something technological or doctrinal that we've never foreseen is something that we try to plan for any way that we can.
Well, obviously, if we did get invaded, these aliens would be much more technologically advanced than we are because we didn't even know they were there. How would you go about fighting an enemy that was just so infinitely superior in technology?
Well, the first thing you'd want to try to do is preserve your forces as best you could. You would want to learn as much about the enemy as possible, and that would mean things like trying to find vulnerabilities, trying to capture technology, but survival is your first priority, because if you send all of your forces into the field and have them destroyed by that superior enemy force, then when you do find a vulnerability, you won't have any opportunity to exploit it.
What do you think would be the alien plan? What would they do first?
That really depends on why they're here in the first place. If they're here for the extraction of a specific resource, for example, they might want to just eliminate any resistance that might block them from their objective. If, on the other hand, their goal was actual occupation and conquest, then they would probably have to prioritize anything that they perceive to be a threat to their own dominance. And so that would probably start by wiping out as many communications networks as possible and eliminating as many weapons as might represent some form of threat either to them or to the resources that they're trying to extract. So they might very well want to counter every nuclear weapon, not because it represented a threat to them, but because it might destroy whatever they're here to collect.
Is this something, this kind of planning, that governments around the world do consider?
It is, in the same way that governments do plan for any future potential calamities or conflicts. This is the type of thing that, because it's neutral, you're not provoking a fight or assuming a fight with a country that you might want to maintain a good diplomatic relationship with. If you insert alien in place of some human civilization that you might come into conflict with, then you're far less likely to create any kind of a diplomatic problem.
Wouldn't it be a strange situation if humanity had to band together if we were fighting alongside, I guess, Russia or the Taliban?
It would, but keep in mind that many of the greatest civilizations in human history have been formed basically to counter a common enemy. And you look at some of the great world powers of the globe today, and you find a lot of them formed because of the fear of a common enemy. Take, for example, the United States, where you had 13 colonies, each of which pursued its own interests and its own goals until they had to band together to try to win their independence collectively from the British.
You make some very good points, and we're lucky to have you should the worst arise. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, so don't worry. You know, if some aliens come down, our military's all set up. We ready. Just push of a button, I guess. This is amazing. We're just preparing for the worst. Meanwhile, the worst things that can happen are going on. But nobody cares. No one minds. Just keep on going. Let's just keep blowing up Afghanistan. Keep sending drones to Pakistan. Now we're waiting for aliens to come down. Next thing you know, we're going to be bombing Mars. We're going to be sending our kids on tour to Mars and Venus to go fight wars over there. It's just amazing, man. And then how much money do we spend doing all this? It's crazy. Instead of taking care, like Ron Paul says, instead of taking care of home, taking care of the people that are dependent on the government and getting them off of dependency from the government, we're not. We're just going to keep on spending money on all these foreign wars and all this military spending and all these weapons. It's amazing, and it's sad. It's sad. And then also, so we're speaking about the military, I had a clip I wanted to play on today's show, but my files were messing up, and I got to try to get it on for tomorrow. CNN, Soledad O'Brien was speaking with a reporter who actually got to interview some witnesses at the to the slaughter of the Afghanistan. The Afghanistan the innocent 16, I think it was, civilians that got killed. Well, anyway, Soledad was interviewing the reporter about her interviewing the witnesses, and yeah, it's basically came out, she was admitting that people were saying that there was more than one soldier doing it. And, you know, I got to play the clip, though, because some of the stuff she said, I know Soledad and CNN didn't want that out there, and they were trying to clear that up. But, all right, you're listening to Paco, Occupy the Media. We'll be back.